pathway, practical steps, and the effective leadership of the Prime Minister and his team who are executing this. We're in a time of transformation, and as a Jamaican, I'm excited and feel privileged, actually, to have a front row seat to this change that we're seeing and what is to come. At the recent meetings of the World Bank and IMF, which are taking place in Washington, D.C. right now, I asked the executive director who has responsibility for Jamaica among many other countries, how is Jamaica doing? So he says, Jamaica is a star. It is actually what he said. It's a model, and it's a country that we are encouraging others to look at what they're doing and follow. He said it. His words, not mine. So that's, and if you think about it, that's not really rhetoric, that's reputation. And I can tell you that it made me certainly proud to be the ambassador and hearing the World Bank speak about us like that. So, in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, Jamaica didn't retreat. We responded, we stabilized, and now we are rebuilding with purpose. What is emerging is not simply recovery, but renewal, stronger infrastructure, smarter investment strategies, and a more climate-resilient development path. And let me say this directly to you as our diaspora. Your role in that response was indispensable. I was here, I know. I saw the work, and the work's not over. And you're still doing great things. And, you know, you stepped up so well and so fast. So I thank you for that. As a new ambassador coming in at the time, I'm still pretty new, but at the time, it was really good to see that happen. And for all the people who called and offered their assistance and so on, I thank you. Your support, your advocacy, your investments, your remittances, your expertise, these are not peripheral contributions, but they are central to our resurgence. You did not wait to be asked, you acted, and the country is stronger for it. However, this is the time to engage even more deeply, and this is the time to invest. It's something I've been pushing. Because the reality is, the world has taken notice, global investors are paying attention, development partners are aligning, and the opportunities are opening. So who better to grab and hold on to this than our own? Ladies and gentlemen, there is one leader who has been at the center of this journey that we've been on, guiding Jamaica through crisis, through reform, and now through resurgence. A leader who does not merely articulate vision, but drives execution. A leader who has earned both the confidence of the Jamaican people and the respect of the international community. And a leader who understands that resilience is not an abstract concept. It is something you build, measure, and deliver. So join me in welcoming our keynote speaker to the podium. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Tony. You will please be seated. You will forgive me if I dispense with formalities. I believe I will make up back for the time if I dispense with the formalities. But of course, allow me to acknowledge our permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Brian Wallace, and our acting CG, Mrs. Bowen. And I want to thank you for filling the gap and standing in the breach for us. You will permit me in just reminiscing a bit, because as I entered the consulate, I was about to ask for Alcyon. And I know that all of you here would have her in heart and mind. She was such a wonderful soul, a force of nature, and she is dearly missed. I'm certain we're moving through with plans to name this hall, this meeting room in her honor. I think that was the last discussion we had. Of course, we will have to do something more than that for her. But knowing her, she wouldn't want us to delay too long. And she would want us to move ahead with the plans because she was just that person. So I know now you have been briefed thoroughly because I'm seeing the representatives from Jamaica here on what has been happening in Jamaica, on the disaster recovery, on the establishment of NARA. But you know what I know about my diaspora is that sometimes you know more than the Jamaicans at home. Meaning that you are so vested that you follow the news. And because you're not there, you make it a point of duty to go to the news sources to get the information. So you are very well informed. So we understand you influence the votes back home. When the call comes to you, it is not only asking for support, but it is also to complain. And when you call home, it is to, yes, we're giving you some support, but we want you to do certain things. Yes. So the connection of the diaspora is so important in the happenings back home. So, you know, Hurricane Melissa, the third most powerful hurricane, the most powerful to have hit Jamaica in recorded history. The only way to describe it is an atomic bomb of wind and rain, massive destruction from where it hit at New Hope until it exited the island in Falmouth and in St. James. And the dislocation has been significant. But at the same time, the resilience of the Jamaican people is legendary, and we are recovering. No doubt, having been hit by such a powerful hurricane, we were wobbly at the start, as any country, any nation would be, no matter how well laid your plans are. As Mike Tyson said, you have the best plans going into the ring until you're hit. And yes, we were hit by a really powerful punch. And we managed to get through the relief phase of the response. And then we came through the recovery phase of the response. I officially closed the recovery phase last month. And now we are into the reconstruction phase. There are lessons to be learned about the relief phase, the humanitarian phase. I wouldn't say it is perfect, but to be fair to ourselves, we are not comparing ourselves to perfection. We're comparing ourselves to other countries and to other situations. And relative to other countries, as the experts have said, our relief and recovery effort is world-class, without question. Obviously, you will hear the critique, as there must be in a democracy. The criticism is necessary to keep us grounded, keep us on our feet, and not to lose focus, as governments are wont to do. So we see the criticisms as necessary when they are constructive. Because in today's world of social media, not all the critique is designed to be constructive. Some of it is just for destructive purposes. But the government filters and focuses. Now, where we are at this stage is to accelerate the recovery. And the critical part of the recovery would be the restoration of electricity, particularly all the utilities, and we have done that in record time. We are about 99% restored in terms of electricity, water, hospitals, schools. The country is functioning. We're back up and running after such a devastating hurricane. Is it, as I said, perfect? No. There are still some challenges that beset us. One of them is the quick distribution of roof repair grants, because an important part of the recovery is the restoration of roofs, because the main damage to households would have been the destruction of residences, in particular roofs. It is not a financial problem. So it is not that the government doesn't have the resources. Let me be careful how I say this. We are not awash with cash, but we have planned in advance for the disaster. So we had some money set aside. And because of our good fiscal management of your resources, we were able to make certain budgetary allocations. So it's not an issue of the government not having the resources. It is an issue of the bureaucracy to distribute. And we experienced this during COVID. We experienced this during Hurricane Beryl, and we are experiencing this now. The truth is that a large number of Jamaicans are unbanked. They are not formally a part of the financial system, so they don't have bank accounts to which we can readily send funds. And where they do have, sometimes these accounts are inactive. So you may send funds and they are returned. So this is a larger problem of informality in the society, and we have to solve the informality issue if we are going to be able to serve persons quickly in times of a disaster. So we have in place what we call the agenda of the digital society. And it is a very wide agenda, but just to break it down very quickly, one, we want to give all Jamaicans a national unique identification. And that is already established under the NIDS, National Identification Project, and that is being rolled out. We are supporting new financial banking systems, digital banking systems, to allow for digital payments. That is not going as quickly as we would like. I see my friend here smiling. He knows everything about that. But we are progressing. We have technically at this point distributed all the grants in the first phase that we have allocated, and we will do another round of grants to rebuild roofs. One of the things we're picking up is that persons are getting the grants, but they are not actually going to the hardware to get the materials. And so there are a lot of issues there. People have to wait to supplement what we are giving in grants with their own income. Some people don't have a place to store the material. So there are all kinds of logistics issues. So we are expecting that in the coming weeks, we will see an uptick in persons going to actually encash the grants to repair their roofs. And once that is done, then we'll go into the second phase to get to those persons who we have assessed, but they have not yet gotten their grants. So we will make another allocation. In the first phase, we allocated 10 billion Jamaican dollars to the roofs program, and that covered just about 50,000 persons. We had assessed over 100,000 Jamaicans, 100,000 households that were destroyed. So we have another round of grants to make. So I want to assure all Jamaicans that the government is not finished in terms of the distribution of roof repair grants. We will do another round as we collect the resources into this new budget. We will make an allocation. So I want to put everyone at ease that, yes, there will be some support coming from the government. Just to rehash, I know you may have heard, we give a grant of 500,000 Jamaican dollars for households that have been badly damaged. And that would help to restore at least 1 or 2 rooms in a house that has been totally destroyed. We give another grant of, I believe, about 200,000, and then another grant for 75,000 for persons who have just received minor damage. So that part of it is moving along. I won't say that I'm, thoroughly satisfied that it is moving at the pace that I would want, but we're going to put greater effort into it to ensure that all Jamaicans who are expecting to get some support and that they have been assessed and legitimately certified as suffering damage, that some support will get to them. But why I'm here today is to talk to you about the reconstruction phase. And in the reconstruction phase, we are going to turn crisis into opportunity. That's what this is about. How do we turn this super phenomenal, destructive event into an opportunity to grow and redevelop Jamaica? Yes. I know many of you who would have left Jamaica and would have had the opportunity to live in a first world country. When you go back to Jamaica, you say, oh, Jamaica is such a beautiful place, but, why are the hospitals the way they are? Why did they build the hospital right on the seafront? Why are the roads built right on the seafront? You have many questions about the infrastructure, about the public bureaucracy. You have questions about why is the crime so high? And sometimes it leads to great frustration. When you meet a Jamaican and you get past the era of exceptionalism and the high level of patriotism, then you start to get into the complaints. Thank God for the high level of exceptionalism and patriotism. Because if that didn't exist, then the frustration, I'm certain, would have turned off many. But it is because you see the hope and the potential. It is because when you look at Jamaica as the oldest black democracy in the world, that has contributed so much as a small island to global affairs, that the truth is, it has provided you with an identity in a country where you could easily be lost. And therefore, you are vested in ensuring that your home country, which provides you with an identity, does well. And I believe that's the root of the connection with Jamaica, because Jamaica holds this promise of all the small countries, small islands, Jamaica could become the next Singapore. But if you talk about Jamaica outside of economic terms, then you would be very proud of Jamaican democracy. Jamaican values. Still very strong. So what we need to do is to merge our democracy with our economy. We need to use our strong principles and convert them into prosperity. How do we use our liberal democracy to create a growing economy? That's the big challenge for Jamaica currently. The truth is that we have been exceptional in culture, exceptional in our standing in foreign affairs, exceptional in academia and what we have contributed to the world. But we just have not gotten the economy right. And because we have not gotten the economy right, we have just not gotten the infrastructure right. The healthcare and all the other issues. So where do we start with getting things right? That's a question for the diaspora, for our generation. Where do we start? How do we get things right in Jamaica? And the first thing you have to do, make no mistake about it, is to get the economy right. And when I say the economy in this context, I'm talking about a limited aspect of the economy, which is to get the fiscal management of public finance correct. Because for many years, we struggled with getting fiscal management correct. Fiscal just simply means what you collect in taxes and how you spend it and how you manage borrowing. Because a part of the Jamaican psyche and culture for a very long time was that we did not exercise agency over our financial affairs. Meaning we didn't take responsibility. There's always a sense in our leaders that it was somebody else's fault, that we were caught up in a global debt trap, that oil prices rose and threw our economy into turmoil, that some foreign companies were coming to exploit us. It may very well be true, but we should never have stood in lamentation. We should have stood strategically. It is only recently that we have had a kind of social contract to break this kind of, I call it, lack of accountability in the management of our fiscal affairs, to put in place very strong fiscal policies. And the greatest impact of that is to reduce our debt from 147% of GDP to, we were just about cracking the 60% of GDP. We've cut it more than half, right? We did that. And that's phenomenal. I mean, let's be clear. That's phenomenal. Very few countries have managed to do that. So the question for us is, how do we take the learnings from that experience and apply it now to other areas of the economy? That's really the challenge. So the big challenge now for the economy is growth. So we have managed the fiscal issues. And by the way, when we say we have managed the fiscal issues, it also means we have managed the political pressure to spend without accountability. Because that's essentially what it means to have fiscal discipline. Because There are a lot of countries like Jamaica, the population wants so many things, and they put political pressure, and governments come in and make promises that they can't afford, and they behave in a profligate way, and then the electorate is confronted with either high debt or high taxes or both. And then they end up in political turmoil, and then they go back again in a cycle. We have managed now for the past decade to break that. And having broken that, it means that we are able to withstand shocks. I'm not telling you that we can withstand every shock, but we are in a far better position to withstand shocks than we were before. So since we have transitioned now to a better model of fiscal management, how do we transition to a better model of growth? That is the real tricky question. How do we get growth? Yeah, we have been getting growth. We've been getting, 1%, 2%, but we need to crack the 5% growth ceiling. How? So one is a concentrated investment strategy, growth-inducing strategy through investment. The other is to increase productivity and efficiency of the economy. And the other is innovation. We need to create new products. And then, we need to increase the complexity of the economy. All sectors work together, and the input of one sector is used. The output of one sector becomes the input of another. And, you really build a strong and booming economy that way. So Hurricane Melissa has provided us with the opportunity for growth that is induced by investment. That's essentially what it has done. But not just random, haphazard investment. Strategic, coordinated investment. Putting everything into a matrix, make sure that they are related so that we can get synergies. Because it is the synergetic coordination of the investment that is going to give us the growth. What is the biggest threat to investment in Jamaica? Well, first, was the unstable fiscal environment. That is not a threat anymore. Let's be clear. Jamaica is the only country right now. I'm not sure what Guyana's situation is, so maybe Guyana may have changed their foreign exchange policy. But Jamaica is the only country in CARICOM that has a freely floating currency. There's no foreign exchange controls. So as an investor, you can come into Jamaica, invest, and you can take out your profits. I don't encourage you, reinvest it. Reinvest your profit. But you see, that's the beauty of it. Once an investor comes and they see that they are assured that they can make profit, and if they want, repatriate, it is highly likely that they will stay. Right, so Jamaica has that now. So for members of the diaspora who are looking on, and persons who are interested in investing, this is a very important advantage that Jamaica gives. The other obstacle I would have thought to investment in Jamaica would have been the issue of security. And that cuts on many different levels. If you wanted to come and buy a home in Jamaica, you might be thinking about security. If you are investing in areas like logistics and so forth, where you need to be assured that your products, when they are shipped out, there is no unwanted intrusion of contraband. These are issues that you would be concerned about. But I'm pleased to report that the security situation in Jamaica has improved dramatically. In the last 4 years, we have cut murders in more than half. In fact, all major crimes are down. When I left the island, So we're continuing the trend. So we're continuing the trend of reducing murders. And murder would be considered to be the main index of security, because that's the ultimate use of violence. And we have cut that in half. The target this year is to go sub 500. So remember, we're coming from the highs of 1,600 murders per year. So last year we went below, 700? And this year we intend to go below 500, and the intention is to bring it down to zero. Yeah, that's the intention. And let's be clear, right? If Jamaica matches its image of Jamaica no problem and Jamaica easy, Jamaica airy, with actually what's happening on the ground, we wouldn't have rooms to have tourists. Not just tourists, the number of persons in the diaspora who would come home. So that's the intention. We're making good progress there, and it is not a flash in the pan. We have had now 3 consecutive years of decline, and this year looks like it's going to be a 4th consecutive year. Once we crack 5 consecutive years of decline, then we know that we would have totally eroded and eliminated those persons and organizations that are the purveyors of crime, murders, and other dysregulated behavior in the society. And we are going at this with great determination. In essence, we have changed the risk-reward function for crime in Jamaica. I think the criminals understand that increased and capable forces. So we find it, we have the intelligence gate, and we bring it to justice. So that is, I think is no longer a major obstacle to attracting investment and getting growth. So what are some of the things that are still outstanding? One that we get a lot of complaints about would be the public bureaucracy, how long it takes to get anything done. Can I tell you that is my greatest challenge? And I say that as the Prime Minister of the country. And when I say this, I recall I made a speech about inefficiency and the dense nature of our bureaucracy, and the response of a journalist, well, you're the Prime Minister, just fix it. Just fix it. Stop talking about it and just fix it. Well, it's not so easy because of the bureaucracy we have, the nature of our democracy. The very thing that I just said at the beginning, our liberal democracy, power is not concentrated in the hands of the Prime Minister only. There are independent institutions with independent authority. We have laws that we have made that we can't easily change. And the laws that we have made are there for good reason, because the laws are there to fight against corruption. And that could be a big threat as well to investment and growth. So it's a balancing act. How do you increase the speed of the bureaucracy without increasing corruption in the system? So it's not a simple task. And it's not a simple task either, because even when you propose new laws to expedite and do things quickly, there is great public debate and suspicion that what you are trying to do is to circumvent the existing laws. Which brings me right back now to NARA. So that's the challenge. I hope I've kind of put things into context. Right. So NARA is not designed to circumvent, bypass for the purpose of facilitating corruption or lack of transparency. It's not anti-competitive. It's not exclusionary. And because of our history and our liberal democracy, it is important that stakeholders question everything the government proposes. But, you know, when I was in the opposition, as leader of the opposition, we used to say, you know, the role of the opposition is to oppose everything, propose nothing, and bring down the government. That's what the thought was, but we never acted that way. No, I took the view that we must be constructive. So even in things like getting the IMF program on board and getting all the legislation required by the IMF, we took a proactive and constructive approach and worked with the government to ensure that this national objective was achieved. So there is a time and a place where the classic definition of how the opposition should operate should not apply. And that would speak to the maturity of the democracy. It speaks to building social partnerships. And that's what we did to build the social partnerships to get us to good fiscal management, to put in place fiscal rules. Now is such a time. The reconstruction of NARA really should be approached as a national consensus. And I'm speaking here, I've said it in Parliament, that has to be the approach. We're not saying that the bill mustn't be criticized. I'm not saying that the bill can't be improved and refined, but you know, there is a space to dispense with political theatrics and performance and focus on the interests of the nation. And I think the NARA bill provides us with this opportunity. The bill comes with a very short sunset clause, so it's not going to be there forever. It's a very limited period of time to get a certain set number of projects executed. And those projects can change the face of Jamaica. The question is also asked, then why not do it through the existing bureaucracy? And I'll give you a few examples. We have a program to restore bridges in Jamaica. It is a program in collaboration with the government of the United Kingdom. We'll be looking at a number of bridges across Jamaica that are in a really bad state of disrepair. Now, the process for public investment in Jamaica starts with investment appraisal. Then when you have passed the investment appraisal, then you go to the refinement and further project development, then you go to procurement, then you go to contracting, and then you go to execution. The first 4 stages are usually longer than the execution stage. So you're going through all of this, and an elderly gentleman trying to get where he's going, though the bridge is cordoned off and people know you shouldn't go on this bridge, but he's trying to get where he's going. He falls off the bridge, which is one of the bridges to be addressed by the program, and dies. Now, how do I balance this? Who takes responsibility? Can I fix the bridge without going through that process? Because the same people here will criticize me and say, I'm breaking the rules. But people literally are dying because we're moving slowly. That's the reality. That's the reality. The existing process can't carry us through what we need to do here. And the existing process must address the things that are already in the pipeline to be done. So these new projects would displace. So we want what is already in the pipeline to get done, the new projects and those that we pull out of the pipeline to get those done quickly. That's the objective. There are questions about governance. Governance, there's nothing that you do in a modern democracy where you do not consider the issue of governance. Governance means, at its basic, accountability. How are the public funds reported on, and how do we assure the public that the funds that you have provided through your taxes or through loans, that they are actually used for the purpose for which they were allocated? So that's the accountability and accounting part of it. Then there are issues of fairness and equity. The people who get to spend the funds and benefit from the funds, why? Why did you get the contract and not you? So those are equity questions. Was it competitive, or was it because of who you know? Then there are the conflict of interest issues. Are the people making decision also have an interest in benefiting from the funds? And there are some other deeper equity issues as well. So governance is important. And governance starts from the minister. Then there's an intermediate body, which is the board in some instances. And then you have the executive, the person who actually takes the policy and converts it into the outcome. Now, between the minister making the policy and that policy getting through to the board, to the executive, and then converted into an outcome, there are many slips between the cup and the lip. There are many ways in which policy, though well-intentioned, can go wrong. So there are many issues. So in what we have learned is that the utilization of the social partnership has created a mechanism of governance that is super effective, because it brings the public into the decision-making process and into the oversight process, directly and indirectly, by having persons who are of high repute, known integrity, reporting on the activities of an executive for performance. So using the EPOC model, which you would know, the Economic Program Oversight Committee, which was established to oversee government's implementation of the fiscal transformation of the Jamaican economy. Bank stakeholders, private sector stakeholders, unions, all came together and formed an oversight committee to oversee what the government and the Ministry of Finance was doing, and they reported to the public routinely, and their credibility was essentially leveraged to ensure that the government stayed on track. We intend to use this model for NARA. NARA is not a political entity. NARA is not there to be a long-term institution. NARA is an implementation machine. Its job is to take policy and convert it into outcomes. It's not there to win friends. It's not there to distribute political spoils. At the end of it, I want the highways to be built, the schools to be built, the new hospitals to be built, the new town centers to be built, and the communities that are to be relocated, relocated. That's it. They have a clear mandate. It's not to give benefit to Fred and Company. It's not to facilitate the diversion of funds. This is just to get the job done. And at the end of the day, when that is finished, the sunset clause kicks in, and NARA is no more. That's it. So whoever is going to be the executive of NARA will understand that this is just a job that you have to execute with almost military precision. Get it done. And you will have what we call the JAMROC, the equivalent of EPOC, that will, at intervals set, report to the public that they were supposed to start this school or start this hospital. They haven't. And of course, the executive director or managing director, whatever title is given, he's not going to be my friend. If the job isn't being done, that's it. Now, I know there's a great fear in Jamaica for this. There's a great fear for this kind of arrangement in terms of how our public bureaucracy works, where it is totally outcome determined. Because can you imagine if this were the model for all public entities, that it is solely a matter of how you perform. You keep your job by virtue of your performance. Can you imagine? So yes, I understand why there are great fears in some quarters about an entity like NARA, because it is totally performance-based. And that's what we need. If we are serious about getting growth, we must transform our public bureaucracy into one that is performance-based and outcome-determined. Right now, we are process-based. It doesn't matter if the man drop off the bridge and die. What matters is that we followed the process. I'm not saying you must tear down the process. Process is important, but we must move faster. And that's what NARA is about, moving faster. So I hope I've brought some clarity to what it is that we're trying to do. So the hope is that NARA will lead to a transformation in the Jamaican public bureaucracy and how we view institutions. it is a credit to Jamaica that we believe in institutions. It is a credit to us that we have strong and deep institutions. Make no mistake about that. But the next phase of our development and the next generation of Jamaicans must appreciate that the world owes us nothing. They are not going to tolerate our pace. And if we don't move quickly, we will be left behind. So we need to get our institutions working much faster. So again, to this point, then just change it, Prime Minister, just change it. Every speech I give, every interaction, that's what it is. It's about building the public opinion to effect the change, because that is the contract that we have in our society. That's why we have a liberal democracy. The people's views matter. My job is to explain why some of the views that are held are not consistent with the vision and the ambitions that you would want to see materialize, so that we can get the social change. So there is a process that we go through. So I've been on this, I've made this speech maybe 30 times already. But we keep doing it and we keep doing it. Eventually, you will call your aunt in Jamaica and say, you must tell them they must move faster. And then that gets into a song somewhere. They make a DJ song about working for. And then you see the culture start to change, which then reinforces, because that's the democracy, right? That's our democracy. That's our democracy. And that's what we've been doing. We're not trying to be bullies about this. And it does take its time. But I think NARA has given us an opportunity to accelerate this. And so what we have done, we have put certain things in place. For example, we have put in place a speed program. We have the integration of technology into our bureaucracy. We're doing all kinds of things to introduce technology to speed up our bureaucracy and to change the way in which we do business. And little by little we're seeing the change, but we want to make a big change now. And NARA is going to be that big change that we want. So we look forward to the support of the diaspora. We look forward to you interacting with Jamaicans back home and explaining to them, the speed of thought that business operates here. I keep saying we have the fastest man and the fastest woman in the world in terms of the record. We should be the fastest people in business. All right, so I want you to see this then in the bigger picture of what it is that we're trying to achieve. Let me talk very quickly about some of the things that we will be doing. I don't know if that was done already, if you gave a list of some of the projects that we're contemplating. Okay, good. You know how you complain about Spur Tree? Yes, well, we're going to build a bypass around Spur Tree. Yes. In fact, we'll have a new highway through St. Elizabeth into Westmoreland. We're going to do the bypass for Lucy and the other towns on the coast of Hanover. Yes, the Portland bypass has already started. We're going to create a new town center for Falmouth and seek to move much of the activity off the shore. We're going to move the Falmouth Hospital from where it is, which is right on the sea. We're going to bring it inland. We're going to do the same for Black River Hospital. We're going to bring it inland. We're going to build a new Kingston Public Hospital. That hospital is 300 years old. We're going to do work on the Sandy Gully. We're going to build a new port in St. Thomas. We're going to do the logistics centers that we have said we were going to do for 20 years and we haven't done it in Caymanners. And Vernon Field finally will become a reality as our third airport. Because of, I can't say too much on that because of existing contractual arrangements, but who knows? But what the hurricane has taught us is that both our airports are at sea level. And therefore we need to have facilities inland on higher ground. So that's strategic, we have to do that. That's imperative, actually. So it's a quite large register of projects, but they can be done. They can be done. The loss estimated by our Planning Institute is $12.2 billion, US. That's a little more than half of our GDP. We have identified about $6 billion. So if we're going to truly reconstruct and recover all that was damaged and so forth, we would need another $6 billion. So we've come up with a plan to crowd in private investment. That's what we call the FAST program. And we have said, if you have a project, 15 million US dollars or more, come to us. We'll see how it fits into the matrix of projects because we want synergy. And you will get on the fast track for approvals and permittings, and you will be linked into the financial network for loans and other support, and including technical support. The way to explain this would be, so we're going to build this new highway. In building the new highway, we would have opened up lands that prior to were not accessible. Could those lands be used, let's say, for housing? If that is so, and the owners of the land now have accessible property, why not form your conglomerate? Let's put you on with the NHD, and let's see how we could develop your lands. But the synergy comes from in building the road, we know what the sewer and water requirement would be. So instead of just building the road, we put in all the infrastructure. And better yet, we make the lateral connections. And while the road is being done, the housing construction is being done. So that's the idea of kind of crowding in the investment. So if you have 15 million US dollars there and it's burning your pocket, come to Jamaica with it. We have projects. We have projects that make sense, and we will quickly approve for you to get started. That's the idea. The leader of the opposition was saying, I'm coming to New York to beg money. I will always seek support for my country. And I totally agree that when we come to you to seek your support, you must be confident that when you give funds to the government, it is properly accounted for and properly used. There's no question about that. 100%. And one of the reasons why we have been criticized as being slow in spending the resources that we have is because we are following the processes to the T. Because as you know, our Auditor General has been very active. And by the way, that's a sign of a strong democracy. So that's a sign of a strong democracy. So we have been very, very careful, very cautious in ensuring that whatever we use the resources on can be justified and it is accountable. Just to be clear, because I'm not sure that it is in the domain here, that so far, in total, Jamaica has received 1.471 billion Jamaican dollars in donations. So that's about $9 million US. Remember what I said was the total loss? 12.2 billion. I'm not going to tell you what percentage the donation is relative to the loss. You can work that out. All right? We're going to go to questions shortly. I'm going to wrap up now. But I just wanted to say that in this figure of $1.47 billion would be donations in cash. By the way, this is just cash donations. This is not what you would have sent in the barrels and the pallets and the bags and all the other things that you have sent, which is much, much, much more than the cash donation, just to be clear. But in the cash donation, some of this would have come from governments, would have contributed. Government of China, many of our CARICOM countries and so forth would have given funds to ODPEM directly. So the 1.4 billion Jamaican dollars or $9 million US is not only what is given from the diaspora. Just to be clear, however, 17,000 persons donated on the platform. So you know it's widespread. A large number of persons from the diaspora would have given what they could. And so we're very appreciative. I want to use this opportunity to say thank you. And what we have used it for, most of it has been used to support what we call the government-directed roof repair program. Right? So we used it to buy the materials to replace the roofs. So far, between the JDF, the government of Guyana, and other entities that have contributed, 400 and odd roofs have been repaired so far, and the program is ongoing. Some of it will be used to buy equipment, and because that is specified by the donors. So we'll be using it to buy heavy equipment that will last for the next disasters to come. So that is in the resilience building. So this is not money that is going to not have a lasting impact. So I want everyone to be assured that the funds that have been given are being used for good purposes and well accounted for. So I think I have entertained you enough, and now I am prepared to take questions.
All right, while we ask the PM, we thank you so much, PM. Would you like some water, sir? You spoke for colleagues. Can somebody, it's on its way, while PM refreshes to take your questions. Can I have a second mic here? Can I take yours? So the rules of the game for the Q&A this evening, you only have 10 seconds to ask the questions. All right, so no long presentations leading up to the questions. So just ask the question, or if you have an idea, as we have been doing since morning, which is that we're presenting ideas as how we can recover better. You can present those, but again, you only have 30 seconds if it's an idea that you're presenting. We do not want to have any one person colonizing the floor. Yes. All right. So, yes, we just want to make sure that everybody is able to ask. I just want PM to get the water before we ask. So, by show of hands, we'll start, so I can start identifying persons. And here's what's going to happen. If you didn't ask a question this morning, I'm going to give you priority. And then we come back to the other persons who were asking questions all day. So let me see. Lorraine, I wasn't calling any names. All right. So remember, only 10 seconds to ask your question. If you're giving an idea, you have 30 seconds. And, we're going to say wrap afterwards. So the gentleman who is behind the camera, he came in late, didn't ask a question. That young lady down at the back in the green, she is number 2. And lady there, number 3, another green dress lady right there. And then after those 3 questions, then we'll come back. So, first question, PM, you can.
Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to commend you on the stewardship of Jamaica post-Hurricane Melissa. My name is Roy Anderson, filmmaker, doing a limited documentary series on Hurricane Melissa and the resilience of Jamaica and the recovery. So my question to you, sir, is this. It's a specific question.
Will this be in the documentary?
No. Background. Given the scale...
Because I don't have some makeup ones.
I can get you a makeup artist. All right, so given the scale of the impact in St. Elizabeth, the country's breadbasket, what does meaningful recovery look like now, several months after the hurricane?
Well, firstly, speaking for St. Elizabeth and Black River in particular, is the restoration of electricity. That's number 1, and water, number 2. One of the things we haven't discussed is the removal of debris. Debris management has turned out to be a huge challenge after the hurricane. And we have dedicated almost $2 billion for debris management. We were already stretched as it was, and the hurricane has stretched us even more. So the cleaning up of Black River, though not perfect, but substantially better than what it was before, that would be significant. And the start of restoration of roofs, that would be significant. Getting our kids back into schools. Now, there are some schools, not a lot of schools, but you don't want your schools to be used as shelters while children are being educated in them. And so we have to move with greater speed to get those persons who are in the schools utilizing them as shelter out of it. It's not a lot of schools, maybe 3 or 4 schools where there is a real challenge that we have this problem. We're giving ourselves the end of this month to solve that. So by and large, life has returned to some normalcy. People are functioning. But if you were to ask about St. Elizabeth, particularly Black River and places like Kong Kong and so forth, the reconstruction, that is what is going to make the difference. So the hospital, to build a new hospital, in fact, to build a new town center, urban center for Black River. In effect, it will become a new capital for St. I'm trying to avoid the term new city. All kinds of things have been... I don't know why we are afraid of building a new city. Countries are building cities every year. I mean, it's part of the spread of urbanization. But yes, we will build a new urban center, and we will do some amount of relocation, because there is a particular area where it is clear that rebuilding in that area would be just setting up yourself for another disaster. So we will have to do some relocation. Yeah. Good.
Hi, thank you, Prime Minister, for your comments. My name is Ashley Allison. I support the Northeast Diaspora Council. I want to go back to your comment about mobile payments and the amount of cash system in Jamaica. There are many countries where that have lower GDP, but they have higher rates of mobile payments and more banked individuals. So what are some specific ways that you are looking to not only increase the number of people with mobile payments personally, but especially in commerce? Can you name some specific actions?
So All right. The purpose of mobile payment is to combat the number of persons who are unbanked. So, yes, there are countries with lower GDP but have more persons relative by percentage that can be involved in using digital payments. They may not have a bank account, which is the difference. So in Jamaica, we may have a higher percentage of bank, but still not as high as we would want, but a low percent of persons utilizing digital payments. And that is the challenge. So we have, Jamaica is one of the few countries in the world that has established digital currency. We have JAMDEX. I gather the United States is contemplating their own digital currency. We have a digital currency, but it has not taken off as we would like. Part of the challenge is the banking system being willing to fully roll out what would be necessary to support digital systems. So you would need, for example, point of sales, machines and the various cards and all that is required. That is a significant expenditure footprint that banks would have to undertake. The other is to establish a unified platform, because you wouldn't want to just have one payment system. You want to have many payment systems, but you need a unified platform on which the payment systems can exchange. So we have started discussions with countries such as India about using their unified platform. So we are in dialogue with that. We have a system already which connects all our ABMs, and that might need further investment. So we are in dialogue with the banks to expand that and make that more available. Our central bank has created what is called a sandbox, where digital mobile payment systems can get approvals. I don't want to be critical of my central bank, but the process has been slow, so I am told, by persons who are in the sandbox, meaning they're testing out their mobile platforms. So the issue for Jamaica is not one of there is no interest. The issue is one of how fast the bureaucracy can move to approve these things. Now, as I've said before, the government can give the directive, but the independent central bank has to be sure that whoever they put on the platform can perform. Government has to be, meaning the government, the cabinet has to be careful how it tries to direct the central bank in doing these kinds of things. And that is part of the democracy that we have that sometimes the public doesn't understand and leads to frustration. So me speaking in this way, I'm certain the governor of the central bank is hearing me and will send me a note to give me an update as to where we are with the spread and greater utilization of digital payment systems.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. I know you mentioned a few things like having investments of $50 million and above receiving...
15.
15? Okay.
Yes.
$15 million and above receiving, expedited access to loans. But given Jamaica's steady... given the steady GDP growth, I wanted to know what specific incentives... Is this me? What specific incentives does Jamaica want to introduce? Okay, yeah, thank you. To attract post-hurricane foreign direct investment, particularly in logistics and manufacturing, as well as renewable energy, because we know that climate change was at the forefront of this hurricane. and we need to rebuild mangroves and other things in order to create an environment where Jamaica is strong enough to withstand another climate disaster. But on top of that, I just wanted to say, so with these contracts and these developments, how would you ensure that the recovery related contracts would create equitable opportunities for young entrepreneurs and small contractors, part of the diaspora, as you say? Like, how are you going to attract us from, you know, my grandparents are born and raised in Jamaica. My father's born here, so I'm pretty removed, but I care about this country a lot, and I want to know, like, in what ways I could add. So in what ways could younger people in the diaspora find an equitable way to give back to Jamaica and also possibly do business?
So, good question. So just to be clear, that the fact that we have introduced the FAST program is an incentive. The expedition of bureaucracy is a significant incentive because it means lower cost and greater time to output and outcome. But outside of that, we introduced what is called the accelerated capital allowance benefit. That means that businesses can claim up to, I believe, 100% almost of their capital allowance, which brings down their taxable profits, which essentially gives you more cash in your hand to keep investing. And that's just one of the incentives that we have given. In the parishes that have been affected, we have halved the property tax, sorry, not the property tax, the transfer tax requirement. So if you have property in the parishes that have been impacted by the hurricane, you decide to sell, you would only have to pay half of the national rate for transfer tax, which is transfer tax is usually a prohibitive tax on the sale of land. So those are some of the incentives that we give. There are specific incentives to particular industries. You mentioned logistics. There is the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, and they have a certain set of incentives that are built into their legislation, which I encourage persons who want to go into special economic zones and logistics to familiarize themselves with that act. Now, a part of this conference is to stimulate interest. So you ask, what are we doing? We're the consulates and the embassies and so forth. We're stimulating interest. I'm certain that the videos that will be produced from this will be circulated, and it may very well spark interest. But look out for the advertisements, because your question was, how do we ensure that there is equity and fairness in contracting? So NARA is not going to dispense with the need for competition in contracting. So we will advertise all the works that have to be done. We're looking for EPC contractors, which are essentially large contractors. But when they do come to Jamaica, they will be required to involve and include Jamaicans here and Jamaicans at home to participate in the rebuilding of our country. So yes, we will ensure fairness through competition, and we will have a requirement for Jamaicans to be included.
Hi, Prime Minister. Thank you so much for your remarks. My name is Nailta Loving. I'm an operation manager in cryptocurrency. I know moving fast has been a topic of conversation and a pain point for many, especially myself when trying to do business in Jamaica. Just like the young lady here, I am a bit far removed. My grandparents were Jamaican. I found out I can get descent, and I did that. So super happy to officially be a Jamaican. So, what are we doing to attract young professionals like myself from the diaspora who are already used to moving fast within American corporations into the institutions in Jamaica to help move faster? Because I know how to do it. I can come in and do it. That's what I do. I do operations, but how do I get there? What are you, like, how are we attracting the professionals in the diaspora that are young and doing it here already, that are willing and want to come back home?
You mentioned you're into crypto.
Yes, I am.
So one of the things we need in Jamaica, it would be support in developing the regulatory framework for some of these new industries, like digital assets and so forth. So it's not that the government is going to go out and headhunt in many respects, because you would then face a challenge. You know, why are you picking people from overseas? Why you're not picking the people who are here? And what we like to do is to say, here are the opportunities, come. Right? And if you indicate that you would like, then we will reach out. So we'll so I'm happy you're indicating, and you notice what I picked up, crypto. You know, look, we're always going to be looking at some of these things with some amount of skepticism because they are new, and Jamaica is, believe it or not, a very conservative place. So we're not going to be the first adopter of some of these new industries. But, you know, it's not going away. It's going to be with us, and there may very well be a space there for Jamaica to perform in the digital asset space. So we would love to have Jamaicans in the diaspora who are familiar with this digital asset space to start working in the Jamaican space to have that done. Another area in which Jamaica has to start paying attention to is nuclear. No, I know when I say nuclear, all kinds of bells go off in people's minds and so forth, but nuclear is not just about nuclear energy itself. That might be one space, but it's in medicine, it's environment, it's all kinds of things. And Jamaica needs to develop its capabilities and capacities there. My own view is that nuclear power is going to become more accessible in the near future, and we should put ourselves in a position to be able to take advantage of that.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. Do I have to talk through the mic? Oh, no. Okay, it's really a pleasure being here with you. I've read so much about you on social media. Good and bad. Now, you mentioned Singapore. Jamaica's improvement will depend on education and also on agriculture. Singapore had one of the worst education systems in the world. Now they are one of the best. Vocational education was a key. Mr. Prime Minister, I paid $30 for one mango about a year ago. Me pay $5 for one little bush, a little bag of sorcy. Them can't draw that in Jamaica. So Jamaica agriculture.
You're talking US dollars, huh?
Yes, $5 for one little bag of. Yeah, in New York here. All right? It's true. A little bag of sorcy, a little bag of fever grass, a big money. $60 for one sour sop, because it's $12 a pound for sour sop 2 years ago. How much sour sop can grow up on a tree in Jamaica? So
I never checked. But
so the point is, sir, while education will be the basis for improvement and changing attitude and thing, immediately we need the farmers out there working the land and being helped, agriculture being taught in schools and all that. Instead of, hey, listen, I'm going to be a singer or a thing like that. I am an educator. I teach teachers. I can bring a vocational program to your school in aeronautical engineering, in electronics engineering. My sons and my brothers They're all into this. So they are ready. How do I go about getting them there with the assurance that this is not a game?
So I'm happy for the question that you have asked, because how much time do I have? I'll try to be short with my answer, Dr. Green, but you have stimulated some thoughts, which I haven't shared previously, but I guess this is a good audience to share them with. You know, I was Minister of Education for a few years. I have a very intimate knowledge of the challenges with education. So yes, there are challenges with the curriculum. There are challenges with behavior management. But there is also a huge problem with education infrastructure. Our schools are aged. They are old. We take pride in saying, you know, we have a school that's 300 years old, or to be able to deliver the modern curriculum, you need modern facilities. And if you look at the design of some of our classrooms, they're not ergonomic. So you wonder how the kids learn. The time is getting hotter, and the children are sweltering in some of our classrooms. The real challenges with the architecture of the school, the design of the school. We have real problems with even sanitary facilities in some of the schools. So we do have a National Education Transformation Plan. And a part of that plan, which we want to execute under NARA, seeing that it is a subject of the discussion now, is to build 7 STEM schools: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But you know, Jamaica is naturally artistic. And so we have to include the arts. And so we call them STEAM schools. So the modern facilities will also support the arts, the creative arts, as well as trying to position Jamaica with the necessary engineering and technical expertise that is needed for the new economy. So if your question is, you know, what are we doing to transform? This is one tangible thing that we're doing to transform the education system. I could go on about the curriculum and so forth, but I want to just focus on that because these schools will be done under NARA.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. Forgive my nerves. My name is Ananda Francis. As mentioned, I am the newly elected Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council member. I'm also a recent graduate from your alma mater, Northeastern University. Where I studied data science and artificial intelligence. And hearing the young ladies of the diaspora talk about how they want to be more involved, hearing you mention the lack of formal trade structures, the need to digitalize and modernize our society, as well as to move faster, to be more rapid. You mentioned this as well in your CARICOM Heads of Government meeting as well. So I wanted to present to the group as well to you, Prime Minister, what the GJDYC is currently initiating as well for the young ladies who would like to be involved. So the Northeast region is very wealthy. We have New York City, we have DC, we have Boston. There is money to be made here and money to be invested back into Jamaica. As a college student, I have seen where investors are very keen on helping students to materialize a lot of these business and corporate initiatives. So with the program that we are creating, it will essentially work as a 3-pronged system. First is allowing students in this region to contribute back to Jamaica by connecting with a peer from UE and UTech, also interested in improving growth and entrepreneurship. But it's not just working in the colleges because we're talking about access and opportunity. So we also want to partner with local entrepreneurs who may not have access to the higher educational resources that we do to create this trade pipeline, this formal network where you have someone like me located in New York where there's plenty of resources. I have peers in UE interested in doing AI, crypto, blockchain, sustainability, etc. Then we have the farmers. We have my own family members that own local businesses, where we can all create an ecosystem where we work together to build fast and build strong and build a resilient and sustainable Jamaica. So I ask you, Prime Minister, how does that align with the work that you're trying to do with NARA and also other initiatives as it pertains to Reconstruction?
Wow. I mean, the simple answer is that it aligns very well. And I want to commend you on the work that you're doing in being proactive in bringing together the young people in the diaspora to work on behalf of Jamaica. And I want to, again, commend you. And what you have said aligns very well to what we're doing.
Age before beauty. But she's beautiful. Thank you very much. David Mullings, Blue Mole Capital. As you know, PM, we were working on a project in Old Harbor, 700 houses. Just full disclosure, is a $17.5 million US investment for those houses. We've expanded beyond that now.
Not for each.
No, the houses. Well, you know the price.
Just to be clear.
But yeah, just to be clear. 17.5 million expenditure to build the 700 houses. We've now expanded to Negril. We've been approached to do 109 in Negril. And we're looking at 115 acres in Westmoreland, in White House.
These are the projects we need.
And
by the way, we have a housing deficit of 150,000 houses thereabout.
Right now, is needed.
So the price of housing in Jamaica keeps going up precisely because the supply is low. So if we have more David Mullings looking to crowd in, we'll be very happy to have the investment.
So I know we're doing 180 acres in Yala St. Thomas, we've been approached. So we have 9 projects we're looking at, 4 approved within our group. As you know, we were qualified by the SEC to raise money here in the US from non-accredited investors and invest back in Jamaica. First company in US history to get that done.
Please get some more.
We're getting ready to list at NASDAQ and had one problem. We met with one of the largest developers in Jamaica for affordable housing. And I said, if we could bring in more cash, more capital, what would be your one problem you need to solve for? And he said, skilled labor. No matter how much money we bring down there, and if we had all the cement, all the blocks, all the steels, all the systems.
So David, one of the things I did not speak about in terms of for coming back to Jamaica, and you're seeing Jamaica, what I'm about to say, you may say this does not square with what you see. But Jamaica at 3.5% unemployment is practically at full employment. Right? This is first in our history, and this is not a one-year figure. We've been doing this now for almost a decade. So we do have a problem with the availability of labor. The participation rate is about 67% thereabout. It doesn't mean that we don't have bodies who can work. All right, there is such a thing as the care economy. There are people who are staying home to take care of family members or who are, otherwise provided for, and they're at home, or they're not making themselves available to the labor market. But there are still significant numbers of persons who are unskilled and therefore are unemployed or unemployable precisely because they can't enter the workforce. And we have to bring those people in and train them. Now, there is a big debate going on in Jamaica about us importing labor. And let me just be clear about this. The government has to focus on empowering our local people with skills first. right? But we can't forego the economic opportunities. So whilst we're doing that, we may have to consider strategic and selective ways how we can allow industries to continue to produce by supplying them or allowing them to get the labor that they need. But if that is done, there must be a program of skills transfer. So it's not just about having them come and stay, it's about having them come and having our own people train, receive the skills, and then are able to fill. If you allow me to say some other things about this. I'm heading on to some dangerous waters here now. But I want you to imagine Jamaica as a place where people, even non-Jamaicans, will choose to come, live, work, raise families, do business, and retire. If we could get Jamaicans to start to see Jamaica as a place that is safe, seamless, meaning you can move around, get services without issues, that is healthy, that is equitable, there's social justice, that is sustainable, you respect the environment, and then we have sun, sea, sun, best music, best people, fun. And where else would you want to live? Yes. So we need to start seeing Jamaica as a place where people will come to live for lifestyle, come to live for work. Now, members of the diaspora come to live for lifestyle. It might be that you are in your point in the life cycle where you want to buy a little house and, enjoy the warmer weather. It might be that you want to be able to, go to the beach and go to Dunn's River and just be in a culture that receives you well and you feel at home. But it might also be a place where people would love to come to get, modern facilities to live. Could you imagine Jamaica having a modern city? Penthouses and, proper health facilities and recreational facilities and so forth. People would just come for that purpose alone and invest for that purpose alone. By the way, that's Dubai. But you don't have to look as far as Dubai. That's Panama. They don't have anything over us. What is it that is going to make people want to come to Jamaica over Dubai and Panama? The price of the houses, yeah, but there are people who will make the decision, price is not going to be an issue for them, but there are people that they want security. They want to know they're safe. They want to know that they have the health care, and they want to know that there is seamlessness. And so this is what we're trying to build. What we're trying to build, 2.8 million people will not grow Jamaica. The market that 2.8 million people create, it's not enough to grow Jamaica. We need to start to think of Jamaica more in the region of 5 or 7 million. And we can bring people in if we have good government, if we have security, good health care, proper roads. That's what we're building for, right? But we always have to remember, first and foremost, we build for Jamaicans so that Jamaicans can be happy. And it is in their happiness that there is the hospitality and receptivity, that we embrace people to come. That's the objective. So we are going to increase our efforts in training. but we cannot continue to miss out on the economic opportunities that we are foregoing because we don't have enough skilled labor in particular areas. That's the strategy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you so much for being here. As a homeowner in Black River and having come back last night from Black River, and that was my 5th trip since the hurricane, I can attest to the fact that every single time I go back, it is better and better and better. When people go and they say, oh my goodness, it's true. When they say, oh my goodness, it looks so bad, I'm like, you should have seen it the time before, and you should have seen it the time before, so I know that. My question is that when you think about the fact that a central feature of performance-based systems is, an infrastructure around bonuses and disincentives and incentivizing, and, when we talk about systems and people say, the system isn't working, and the response is always, well, actually, the system is actually working because it is rewarding exactly what it is created to reward. So I'm wondering with NARA, is there a heightened system of bonuses and penalties, whether fiscal or otherwise, to ensure that we have that movement, right? So that, and I know that we will see where if the project is X percent completed.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah.
Look, the knowledge is in the diaspora as well.
Yeah.
You see, if sometimes it is good to have persons who are knowledgeable about Jamaica but not connected in a sense that they have a particular interest or connected to a political party or anything, to explain issues to our family members and friends back home. Because what you have said there is so eloquently put that it's not that the system is broken. The system is designed to do exactly what it is doing. And can we have a real performance-based system that you get paid according to your output? Believe me, that is not a popular thought. But if we're going to get to the next level of Jamaica, because that's what you experience here in this economy. Yes, you see that every day. Now, can you get your relatives back home to become comfortable with that concept? I hear the reservation. But you see the difficulty that we face. It's not just about an edict, right? It's about getting every Jamaican to change the way in which they think, right? To change the mindset. That is the challenge, to change the mindset. So yes, NARA, so I give you an insight. I wanted this to be legislated, to be placed in the law, that there is an incentive structure and it's performance-based and so forth. The better view was that these things should be placed in the contract of employment rather than in the legislation. And for good reason. You put them in the legislation, it narrows what you can do. You might have to go back to Parliament to change. It's not tidy to put these kinds of things in legislation. So yes, the contracts that will be prepared for the people who work at NARA will all have very strong performance clauses in them. That's the idea. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so let's give a round of applause to PM for taking those questions and being with us. As is the norm with events that we do here, for all the persons who weren't able to ask their questions of the PM, you can always email them to us, and we will see if we can provide you the answer. You have our email address. Just send a question to the email that you use to register, and we will forward the questions onto the relevant departments and ask for a response to be sent to you. All right. So with that being said, I would just like to now move quickly to invite Mrs. Ariel Boyne, our officer in charge, to give the closing remarks and bring today's program to a close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin. Prime Minister, Ambassadors Anderson and Wallace, distinguished moderators, presenters, panelists, and of course, participants who traveled far and wide to be here today, I thank you. It has been a pleasure to have hosted you today at this Recover Better conference here at the Jamaican Consulate in New York. Let me say, Prime Minister, how honored we have been to have had you here today. Your visits to New York are always met with great anticipation, and this has been no different. We thank you for the clarity and the comprehensive presentation that you have delivered, as only you could have. I'm sure the entire participants wish to join me in congratulating you on your well-deserved award by the American Foundation for the University of the West Indies, which you will receive tomorrow afternoon. Your presence at the conference today has enriched our discussion and brought renewed impetus among the diasporans this side to contributing to the recovery efforts of our Jamaica. Bruised, but not out. Thank you, sir. To all our moderators, speakers, participants, thank you for the engaging and thought-provoking perspectives you brought to this meeting. I thank the Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture, Mining and Fisheries, who was quick off the mark to confirm his participation in this event. I thank the Honorable Rhoda May Crawford, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Skills and Information, for her comprehensive presentation that was very well received. Thank you, Ambassador Anderson, for making the journey from Washington, D.C. and introducing the Prime Minister. Ambassador Wallace, our PR at the United Nations, Jamaican Mission to United Nations, thank you for standing in the gap this morning and taking care of business for us. Representing the recently established National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, you've been hearing the acronym all day, NARA, out of the cabinet in Kingston. We heard from Ms. Trudy Deans, Senior Advisor to the Prime Minister, Mr. Demoy Carr, Office of the Cabinet. Thank you, Ms. Deans. Thank you, Mr. Carr, for your presentation and for making the trip from Kingston. Dr. David Lowe, Managing Director, and Ms. Nicola Russell, Manager, Public-Private Partnership and Privatization from the Development Bank of Jamaica. Vivian Scully, Chief Executive Officer, Agro Investment Corporation. We owe you a debt of gratitude for coming to Jamaica to be a part of this conference. From the diaspora here in New York, I thank Dr. Anthony Monroe, President of the Borough of Manhattan Community College, for guiding the discussion on education. Thank you, Dr. Monroe. Ms. Norma Jarrett, President of Old Farmers Association of North America, who led the session on agriculture. Thank you. Dr. Karen Dunkley, she wears many hats. But for the purpose of this conference, we identified her as a former member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Conference. She led us through the session on diaspora engagement. Thank you, Dr. Dunkley. The panelists on her session, Ms. Michelle Tolonil, recently re-elected member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. Mr. Sean Anthony Brown, Sector Lead on Commerce, also on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. Thank you all so much for your contribution and participation in this event. To our audience, those who have joined us online, those who are here today, without your questions, your engaging participation, this would not have been what I consider to be a successful conference. Thank you. The Jamaica Tourist Board is always very supportive of all we do. I don't think anyone is here today, but just in case you're joining us online, thank you. You know why we're thanking you. Last but not least, the consulate team. Every single one of you who are here today, who have been working with us over the last several days, I'm not going to single out Mr. Christopher Benjamin nor my assistant Jolene, but I really want to thank you all very, very much. The late nights, the constant back and forth thing, everybody, you know who you are. Are you here? Can you stand up? Let's just give you a round of applause, all of you. The rapporteurs will be submitting their reports, and as we intended in the very beginning, that we will ensure that we do pick those very action-oriented items that we can share back with our principals in Kingston. We intend to do that as we promised. Give us a little time and we'll put our reports together. I want to invite us for, as we close, a quick get-together for a family picture. It is a thing that we do these days, a quick family picture, and we have our photographers. Oh, let me thank the photographers. Oh. These two young men are the persons that we use here at the consulate to help us ensure that our passport office functions well in having the best kind of photographs that we can give to ensure that they're compliant, and they have done all of this without any charge, and I want to thank you. So, I hope I have not left anyone else, anyone off. The men and women, yes? Okay, so the men and women in black who have ensured that our Prime Minister is kept safe and secure while he's here. Let me thank them too. And on that note, I just want to give all of you another big round of applause. Give yourselves a big round of applause. It was a pleasure to have hosted you. I'm not going to be long, I'm closing. But from the responses that we had to your response to the disaster of Melissa, we knew your questions. We know persons wanted to ensure that once you've given and you've sent all of the stuff that you've sent down, we wanted to ensure that we keep this thing on the agenda and that we identify where the gaps are, and they are great. And we wanted to give you a chance to be able to participate in the rebuilding process, which is why we had this conference here today. We hope that something has been accomplished out of it. And so I want to just close by thanking you again for being here. Thank you all, and I wish you a good evening. Thank you.